Hello and welcome back to the channel. Okay, I'm just catching up on some news because I've just been busy recently with the lockdown and stuff and the kids being at home and stuff like that. So I'm going to cover the sales in Japan for Xbox and PlayStation. Some interesting news recently come out, but first I just want to cover this part of it. In comparison, right, so this is the Xbox, this is the sales of as of November for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. The Xbox Series X sold 20,000 units between November 10 and 15, and the PlayStation 5 sold 118 units. But the interesting thing about this statement is that if you look at PS4 previous sold 309. So if the PS5 sold 118, it's dropped almost 200,000 units sold. Whereas the Xbox One sold 23,000 and the Xbox Series X sold 20, so it's only dropped 3,000. So it's more of a success story for the Xbox Series X, to be honest. Even people are going to say, oh, but there's not many being sold because of COVID and blah blah blah. Well, Xbox Series X has only sold 3,000 less, and that's in Japan, whereas the PS5's dropped by 200,000. Now, this kind of almost brings to light my point about scalpers, that scalpers are hitting PlayStation 5 harder. Some idiots are saying, oh, it's because they know that PlayStation 5s are better and worth more, so they're buying them instead of Xbox Series. No, what it is because their bots can detect PS5 easier, checking sort of online purchases and things like that, than they can in Xbox, because what the bots were doing were buying Xbox X instead of Xbox Series X's. I don't know if you heard about that news, but yes, the bots were buying the wrong console, so that screwed over a lot of the bots, the people that wanted to buy Xbox Series X's. So that's quite funny, really. So that's pretty much what's saving this Xbox Series X from being scalped more than the PlayStation 5 is its name. Basically, the bots cannot detect the Xbox Series X as well as PlayStation 5. So that's the thing. So that was back in November. 3 days ago, we've had this come out. PS5 launch in Japan was smaller than every PlayStation console except the PSP. So, analyst firm claims PlayStation brand is in a decisive decline in Japan after reportedly poor PS5 sales. A Japanese analyst has claimed that the PlayStation brand is in a decisive decline in the region, citing low sales of the company's lowest console, the PS5. Latest console, lowest console. In an article on GameBiz Japan, translated and republished on Rosetta, PS5's launch was Sony's second smallest ever in the region. PS5's in the console's first 6 weeks, a figure lower than any other Sony console. Right, yes, so basically the PS5 is just not as big in Japan as it was. This is because, firstly, yes, consoles are being scalped and there is a limited amount. Secondly, you've got to take into account that I don't think the PlayStation brand has the interest of Japan anymore like it used to have. I think a lot of them are moving, a lot of them going mobile gaming. The Switch is massive in Japan. It's easy destroying the PlayStation in Japan easily, and the games I don't think are even suiting they got Final Fantasy 16. I think as for games, I don't think their games are now modelled towards Japan at all as well. They're more Western. Then they've upped and moved their whole student office, their main headquarters, to America anyway, out of Japan to America anyway. So I don't think Japan are sort of so much into PlayStation as they were, or even Sony, to be honest. So I think that's the reason for that. But it's interesting to see, and we've not seen any figures of anywhere else other than Japan, which is odd. So it'd be interesting to see when we get worldwide figures. Not that I don't care, because consoles don't determine whether a console's good or bad. Console sales don't determine whether a console's good or bad. They also don't determine if someone is winning, as people claim. You won the console. Well, there is no winning in this. The winning is the companies making profit. That's how they win. That's how they decide. That's how their shareholders decide if someone's won or not. Profit. They don't go how many consoles you sold. Xbox wouldn't have said, we've made X amount of money, and the shareholders would have been, yes, but you didn't sell many consoles, and we only care about console sales, we don't care about profit. That conversation won't ever happen, I'm afraid. Many of you like to kind of believe that, especially the certain fan base like to believe that the companies care for console sales more than profit, but they don't. No company does. Every company wants to make profit, otherwise you would not make a company in the first place if you don't want to make profit. So it'd be interesting to see the console sales, though, just the interest. I just want interesting to see, based on how they've been affected by COVID, by how they've been affected by scalpers, and overall sort of. I'd like to see more of the revenue, but we're not hearing any news on anything at the moment, so it's quite interesting times at the moment. But let's move on to the next bit of news. I don't want to dwindle on this too much because I don't really care about console sales. So there is no reason to own a PlayStation anymore, I guess. I'm just kidding. How to set up PS1 emulator on Xbox Series X. Yes, what's interesting about this is the PlayStation 5 cannot play PlayStation 1 games, but the Xbox Series X can. When this news came out, I thought it was absolutely hilarious that Sony are not able to. Right, let me get the wording right. I think they are able to do it, but I think they don't. I think they limit their backwards compatibility because they like to make profit from PS Now. That's where they chuck all their games into. They chuck them into PS Now. They might like to make profit from PS Now, and they like to sell remasters. That's what Sony does. They like their cheeky revenue from really being quite sort of anti-consumer, really. So it's interesting the PlayStation 5 cannot naturally play PS1 games. Meanwhile, the Xbox Series X can. And yes, you can. And this is on the Windows Central. Yes, you can. You can get an emulator and play the PlayStation games. The other interesting thing about this is how far will it go? Will there be an emulator for PS2, PS3, PS4? Will these come, later on? That's they react to PlayStation games being on the Xbox and then making no revenue from it. So, it does cost you £20 to get this. So if you're interested in PlayStation 1 games on your Xbox, by all means, buy it if you're interested. But it's just a very interesting thing to do. You've got this site shows you how to install it, blah blah blah, and goes into it. So I'm not really going to advertise that on here too much because I don't care for it. But if you do, take a look. But it's very. What's your take on that? What's your take on the Xbox Series X playing PS1 games now, and going forward, possibly PlayStation 2, 3, and 4 games? Let's move on to the next and final topic. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Spider-Man. Firstly, I'd just like to highlight Microsoft Flight Sim introduces real-time snow in Happy New Year message. That is incredible. I can't wait. The Microsoft Flight Simulator is coming to Xbox Series X in 2021 this year. So, real-time snow, look at that. But anyway, let's move on. Spider-Man Miles Morales. Spider-Man Miles Morales sold 70% fewer copies than Marvel's Spider-Man at launch. Not so spectacular. Yes, Spider-Man Miles Morales is unsurprisingly taken a massive dip. Spider-Man Miles Morales is considered one of the year's best games, launching alongside the PS5 PS5 showcased the power of PlayStation's latest console. It doesn't really showcase the PS5 power at all because it's also on PS4, which I think is what leads to its low sales. Sony are very slow on the marketing for this game. They made people believe it was PS5 only, but it was also on PS4. Also, an expansion. It's not a full game. It's more of an expansion. It's more DLC. I believe the game's only 7 hours. Some guy completed it in 3 hours, I believe, on the YouTube. So, in a survey conducted by Superdata, it was revealed that Spider-Man Miles Morales only sold 663 digital units across both PS4 and PS5. That is damning. So that's we're looking at like 120 million plus units, and only not even sold a million copies. This is only digital. People can go, yeah, but that's only digital. You've also got the physical. Well, digital sales now trump physical by a large margin. I believe the digital sale ratio on PlayStation is now 70 or 80%. So 78% of games are digital. So let's just be generous here. Let's bump it up to 1 million. It sold 1 million copies in total, physical and digital, across PS4 and PS5. That is still massively low, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. That is still low. I mean, Marvel Spider-Man sold 2.2 million in the same time. That sold 1 million across two generations of consoles. So it's fair to say it's tanked, basically. First of all, there's a confusing marketing. Yeah, they go on to say this is why. Marketing surrounding the game. It's not confusing at all. Sony were misleading. It wasn't confusing. We all know that Spider-Man Miles Morales is more of a spin-off than a full-fledged sequel. But that information wasn't clearly communicated by Insomniac before the game launched on purpose because they wanted to sell the game. They thought they were being clever. It obviously has backfired. Then we had the situation Sony created where the company poorly communicated whether it's upcoming. So look, there's two. They didn't poorly communicate. Stop making excuses for them. They purposely tried to make out that this game was only going to be on PS5 and it was going to be a full game, and it was neither. Kind of how people are hating on CD Projekt Red at the moment and Cyberpunk. They did the same for Spider-Man, but this is getting nowhere near the hate that because it's exclusive to PlayStation. That's why. Many will have assumed that Spider-Man Miles Morales was a PS5 exclusive, not realising the game also launched on PS4, resulting in lower launch day sales. Yep, that's down to Sony, really, you idiots. Right, but I want to hear from some of the gamers. Let's see what some of the gamers think of this. So let's go over the opinions of some PlayStation gamers. This guy, that guy said can't say he's shocked about the price. Yes, the price, it was very high for the game, considering it was not really a full game. Not bothering with it. In my honest opinion, Miles should have received its own standalone game rather than an expansion with half the playtime. Exactly. Yes, it is. Yes. It's quite good. Okay. I think it actually rated much lower than the previous game as well. I think it only rated 83%, 84%, compared to Spider-Man, which rated 87%. Yeah, the marketing for Miles Morales seemed a bit confused. No, it wasn't confusing. It was misleading. Someone's done a silly parody. News article for there we go. Damage control. Oh, don't believe those links. Yeah, $80 for a DLC with bootleg Spider-Man. Exactly. Well, they are selling DC as a full game. Yep, they are. It's kind of surprised, but also not really. It seems to me that they probably should have priced it lower. Exactly, they should have done, knowing that it was only a 7-hour game, or a game that could potentially. That's if you do all the side quests and everything. People are completing it within 3 hours. Yeah. Don't buy it, wait for PS5. Have PS5, not getting it till around 30. Yeah, exactly. People don't want to pay. People don't want to pay the price for it, and they want to get it on the PS5. That is the issue, Sony. But you misled gamers, and it's really backfired because no one's bought it on the PS4. I'd imagine that's what it's coming across. So that's sort of the census on that. Sorry, I have got a new mic for Christmas. My wife bought me a lovely new mic as well. So I'm going to have to start using that. It's just that I've been too busy to set it up. So I'm still getting yeses and stuff in this mic, which is horrible. I know that, and I'm apologising for that now. So hopefully my next video will have my new mic. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Please sub and share this on Twitter, or share it anywhere. And drop a like. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye for now.